culture that is fragmented as ours is,
Yeah.
where the family has unraveled, where people travel, you might be isolated, you could have multiple grandparents. I mean, 4, 8,
Yeah.
divorce, even if you know who they are. I mean,
Yeah.
just dealing with the real world we're in. How do you help create that environment
Yeah.
for those older and younger people to come together when the young people are like, I don't want to go, I'm just on my phone, I want to talk to my
Yeah.
friends, get on Discord,
Yeah.
and then the older people are like, no one's going to want to hear what I have to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. And that is the challenge, is how do you bridge this? And one of the ways we did this with the congregation that I pastored is we did a lot around food. We did a lot around meals.
Amen, brother.
Eating together is a very popular activity in the Bible.
It is,
right?
Huge.
So
that's why Jesus gets into trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why, you have this idea of that table fellowship is huge.
Yeah.
But I find that the larger a church becomes, the less that happens.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we can quickly, easily lose that. And so the things that I often will tell communities is go after, times of, meals and skills. And so what I find is people with some life, they know how to do things like change oil, and like they have certain skills that, I didn't know how to change oil in a car. And I mean, I could try to bumble my way through with YouTube and figure this out, but like to have people who have skills that they can teach, skills and stories is another thing. Kids love stories. And that's, what you described, some really good stories. And kids, the brain is, really loves stories. That's something like movies and music. Those are stories, right? Poetry, like we hold on to that goes deep. And so if you get people with some life where they can share life in a way that meets some needs, whether it's a meal or whether it's around a skill, include, very purposeful storytelling time. And what the young people will discover is some of these older people actually have something to offer, something to give. And as you said, we discover like, oh, they're kind of like me. I'm kind of like them in some ways. So it can bridge some gaps, but it often takes some buy-in from the family or from a parent who can provide, some opportunities by participating. And the challenge is it's hard to get the parents to engage this stuff. But the parents have needs. So like, part of learning like the joy switch, like when parents learn this stuff, they're like, oh, wow, you just explained how my family relates. So even getting parents some skills by people who've raised children and, passing on some skill or some stories or some wisdom or some advice, getting people to connect in a language that they speak, in a language that they understand. And it usually, again, kids might go in there with the joy switch off, like, this is a waste of my time. Why am I doing this? But often what happens when you get them to, get these people and communities connecting, it's actually very satisfying. And once the joy switch starts kind of coming on, because people with life to give that might not have a lot of opportunities, it's easy for them to be glad to be with people. And kids need to see people who are glad to be with them. Like they need to see a face that lights up to see them. Even if they don't know them, they're glad to be with them. And so kids feel that. And whether they admit it or not is another thing, but they see it. Their brain is looking at faces within milliseconds, seeing whether and determining whether you're authentically, genuinely glad to be with me. So I always tell kind of the older folk in the communities, like, live in your face. Let kids see your face. I tell greeters of churches, like, live in your face. Don't overwhelm everybody, but
I can see it. Hey!
You don't want to. You don't want to scare everybody away, but just like a genuine. It's got to be joy and rest, right? And I always tell them, don't overwhelm them, but just genuinely. Just know every human brain that walks into the doors of your church, every human brain is looking at faces and determining, do I belong here? And are people glad to be with me?